So I really don't know how it happened. It's just magical. When I first started on my journey, I was a total skeptic. I didn't believe in all this stuff. I thought meditation and all these things was like a mumbo jumbo kind of stuff. I came from a science background. Um, so for me, everything is like show it for me to believe it. That is the kind of person I was. And then finally, I met Gurudev in 93, but I didn't take the course till 96. And when I took the program, my first silence course with him was, so basically I did my happiness course. In those days it was called the Art of Living course on a Friday, Saturday and Sunday at the Bangalore ashram. And Gurudev was there at that time. And then on Sunday, when I was supposed to leave the ashram to go back to my in-laws' house in Bangalore, he was having a Sunday evening satsang. And he said, so how many of you have come here for the silence course? I didn't even know there was something called advanced course or silence course in those days. And then I looked around to my in-laws who had come to pick me back up. And I said, can I stay back to do this course? I didn't have money. I didn't have clothes because I brought just 2 sets of clothes and I'd already used it up for the weekend. And then they said, no worries. There must be someone coming from Bangalore city to the ashram. So we'll send clothes for you. You just stay back. So I stayed back in the ashram and somebody brought the money and my clothes the next day. And I continued. It was in those days, the advanced course was for one whole week. So from Monday to the next Sunday, I was there. And as I said, I never thought I was the meditating type. I never thought I would be sitting silent and doing nothing. And then finally, I had some crazy experiences with Gurudev in that silence course. And I still think he does the meditation for me. I don't feel like I do any meditation. I feel I do nothing really. I just sit there and then he does the meditation for me. That's how I feel even now. And that's pretty much how it is, because I found that in this whole path since 96, I don't think I can make my mind go quiet. It is just a happening where the mind just becomes still and quiet and nothing. I don't know how to explain it, but in the past 24 years, it just slips out. I don't know how to explain it either, but that has been my conclusion. After all this experimentation, I find that I don't do anything. I just sit there and either it happens or it doesn't. There are days where I just sit and sit and sit, nothing really happens. And then there are days as soon as I'm seated, the first ujjayi breath and I'm gone somewhere else. So I still haven't figured this out. And I can just say that it's just the grace. I found that the Art of Living journey has been that of grace. And I'm so blessed and fortunate that I found my guru in this lifetime, or rather he found me, whichever way it works. It doesn't matter. And that's pretty much it. So since 93, I met him for the first time in Rishikesh. And then on my mother's birthday. And then 96 is when I did my first course, both part 1 and part 2. In those days, it was called Art of Living part 1 and part 2 course. And that's it. That has been my journey. And over the years, I feel every day I kind of pinch myself, said, is this for real that I am in this path? And I have such an amazing guru. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah.
Yes. Didi, I have seen also some of your Bhagavatam videos. It was really amazing. Didi, for the people who are very new to this subject, can you explain how Bhagavatam goes?
Oh, Bhagavatam, if I have to start telling Bhagavatam, then I have to go to the little bit of history, background story. My mom, her name was Rajima, and she started doing Bhagavatam many years back. And she really, really wanted to do the Bhagavatam in front of Gurudev. So finally, on his birthday in 2016, she had the opportunity to share a little bit of her Bhagavatam experience in the WCF that happened in Delhi in March of 2016. And that video link, you can, if you can find it, you can put it in the, post it in your box. And so that was 4 years back. And then in August, I got a message from VDS. One of the trustees called me and said, Gurudev has blessed you to do the Bhagavatam. I was like, what? And here I was happily like, mom has done it. I can watch and I listen to other people do this. That is the kind of, it was just like that, because I never thought I would ever speak it or say these things, because I felt it was all for very so-called advanced people to do this kind of Bhagavatam Katha and all that. But then I realized it is not about me knowing something or not knowing something. As I said earlier, this whole journey has taught me that the whole path is about grace. And the Guru is all about flowing through you at that moment in that form or in that flavor or essence or whatever you want to call it. So that whole experience of that Bhagavatam that happened in August, which was my first time I did a Saptaham, I realized what it meant. Of course, I had realized it before also, even when I teach all these courses, the Art of Living courses, I find that's the same magic that happens. You just lend yourself this body, breath, mind, intellect, memory, ego, these 7-level existence, you just lend it, and then the magic happens. The grace just flows. So it's the same thing that happened even with the Bhagavatam. And I realized afterwards when I watched my so-called video, and that's when I realized, whoa, I said that. So it's, this whole journey has just been that you are not the doer, and you just recognize the amazement that is called the unfolding of life. So it might sound a little weird, but I never thought I would live a life like that, because I thought my life before Art of Living was like a scientific experiment. You have a hypothesis, and then you put your ingredients of the materials required together, and then you have a plan, and then you just execute the plan, and that's it. And then you come to your conclusions. And if you thought that these were not the conclusions that you started out with, you didn't want it, then you go back, fix it, come back, and then redo it, and then you keep trying at it till you get the right results. That's how I thought life was all about. But the Guru has his own ways of just completely changing it around you and saying, drop the intellect. Intellect is valuable, but it has its limits, and you have to go to the heart. And then the space of the heart is so infinite, and it's so expanded, that the path of love, the journey is all about head to heart. And it's just that. So yeah, I laugh at myself, because when I look at myself like 25 years ago until now, that's what I have learned.
Didi, when I hear about Bhagavatam, it's all about a conversation which we can do for a devotee who is completely surrendered. So, how can a normal person get an immense faith on the divine? How this journey starts?
If you look at the Bhagavatam itself, Krishna says that he is the Bhagavatam itself. So the thing is, when we look at, so you look at the Bhagavatam as a book, if you want to start off there. For the not so devoted, you can just look at it from perspective of, it's a piece of literature, it's a text, it's a book. We start there. Let's say you don't have any faith or belief or any of that stuff, it's a book. But then when you start going into the book, you just start reading the book by itself, what happens is, it first of all breaks the linearity of the mind, because the way the book itself flows. I by the way, background, I have a bachelor's in biology and a master's in French literature. So I start, if you look at the book itself, so my background in literature tells me you just start looking at it from a perspective of it being a text, a book. You look at it, you start reading it, and then you start. Normally, we are so used to have a linear pattern when we look at books, especially in the modern context. But most of our books, especially in the Indian literature, you will see they are nested. So we call them nested stories, where there is a story within a story within a story. So sometimes you'll even forget who said which story to whom. Then you forget who the narrator is, because the narrator keeps changing in the story. And then it gets very confusing. Then you have to write it all out to figure out the threads, because it's not linear in its flow. So the first thing it does, the book itself, the very structure of it, is it breaks this linearity of thinking, which is so connected with the intellect, because the intellect goes A to B, B to C. It does not go, like Gurudev says it many times, that time is spherical. Your very existence is more spherical rather than linear. And so when it breaks that very structure in your head, where time otherwise feels very linear, we say it's past and future and all that. But when the mind, the more it becomes meditative and the more it comes into the present moment, then you start experiencing the wrapping around of time, which is more spherical in nature. It's no longer linear in progression. And that experience, when you start applying it to the reading of this book, and then you start seeing there is no sequence as such of the stories, but you start seeing the interconnectedness or the integration of various threads or stories that come into, brings you from outside to the inside, or the inside to the outside, however you want to call it. Then it shifts the way your mind is working. And then Gurudev says this all the time, that the entire journey is from the head to the heart. And that's exactly what happens. So otherwise, this linear intellect, which is very linear, suddenly gets collapsed, and it goes into the center and it goes into your heart. So that's where the devotion blossoms, because it breaks the intellect, it breaks the linearity, and then boom, you find yourself in a place of total wowness. And it's like, whoa, what hit me there? So I think it is just fascinating that the very structure of the book itself gets you to that space of wonderment, that gets you to start looking into that possibility of a more spherical way of existence, rather than a linear way of thinking things through, which is what most of our education system teaches us. I mean, I'm part of that education system. I teach high school. So we talk about cause and consequences and the whole linearity of things and everything. But when it comes to the actual truth about this very existence, which we experience through the happiness program, where we learn the Kriya, or the meditations that we learn when we do it, either in the silence program or the Sahaj Samadhi, any of these methods, something in us shifts, clicks, and it gets us to that space of wonderment and expansion within. So I think it's just fascinating how these, even for someone who's not even exposed to all this, maybe the reading of the book gets us back, or the listening to the stories, even if you cannot sit through all that reading, because it can be pretty heavy. Just sitting through the stories itself opens up those possibilities and gets us a taste of what it means to just dissolve in the present moment into devotion. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Didi, you were a very logical, I can say a logical brain person. And for that person, okay, Sudarshan Kriya is good. They when these person find that practice interesting, they will do it daily. But becoming from a participant to a devotee to a teacher, it requires some kind of a attachment with the master. So how this happened? You are staying in California. The people around you are not that devotee type. They are very the people are like in the Western world, they are very logical and all. So you means finding a sangha also there is the difficult thing, obviously, as compared to India. So in all these situations, how that connection invoked?
To be honest with you, when my husband and I, we did the program in 96, we had a very small satsang group here. We barely had 6 people in that satsang group in the Bay Area in California. Though Gurudev started out in California in the 80s, early 80s, he has been coming to California since the 80s. But the group was very, very small, very tiny. There was a small group in the LA region, and then there was a small group up in the North California. And so 96, as I said, my husband and I, we took the program. And within a month of us coming back to the US, I took my program in November. He had taken it earlier in the US in September. And then we came back early December. And within a few weeks, Gurudev in December was in LA. So we drove down from San Francisco to LA and we met him there. And that, I don't know. I mean, even during my silence course, my first silence course, I had some crazy guru experiences. And the first time I had, when I was in the silence program, in those days, we used to be, we were invited in small groups to go into the kutir where he would be. And then he would ask each one of us to come to him and ask him any question. So in my case, when it was my turn, I was in silence and I didn't want to break my silence because I was very sincere about the silence part. I'm like, okay, I'm in silence. I should be in silence. I should not talk. So then I came close to him and then he said, now you can talk. And I just looked at him and I smiled. I was like, what? I have nothing to ask him. And I have, there's really no question in my mind. I was just in silence. And then he said, and then he said, it's okay, you can talk here. And I was just like, there was really nothing for me to ask or say, so I didn't speak. Then he said, okay. In Tamil, he asked me, what do you think of me? And remember, in those days, I was very skeptical. I didn't believe in all this stuff. And I was like, when he asked me that question, out of the blue, even now, I don't know this shloka by heart. It starts like this. It says, Mauna Vyakya Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam Yuvanam, and then it continues. It's one of the shlokas from the Dakshinamurti Stotram. And even now I don't know it, but at that time in front of him, I said the whole shloka, the entire 4 verses. I have no clue how I said it. Even today, I don't know. I still not learned it properly. And I still don't know it by heart. I have to check the lyrics to say it. And then I said, you are Dakshinamurti. And all this I'm saying to him. And I was like, afterwards, I'm still wondering, I don't know the shloka. How did I say it? So that was my first experience of being in his presence like that. And I realized that this idea of my intellect saying, I know this, I don't know this kind of attitude, he just broke through that whole thing. He just broke that idea in my head that what I thought I knew and what I thought I did not know, we are very clear in our minds. Like, okay, I know this, I went to this class, I studied this, so I know this stuff. I don't know this stuff. We are so stuck in our heads saying, I know this, I don't know this, and I don't even know what I don't know. That is another part, which most of us do have no clue what it is. But when you come to a master, when you come to the guru, you realize that you just connect and then something just comes out through you, which is beyond your comprehension, which is beyond your intellect, which is beyond many, many things you think you know, you don't know. And that's when you realize that our experience as an average human being is so limiting and so limited. And then he breaks it. So that said, when I came here, I was going through the Kriya. I just done barely 1 month of Kriya. And I was having all kinds of energy stuff going on in my body and my mind. And I was just going crazy. And I told Gurudev, my head is going crazy. I feel all kinds of this energy moving and it's all kinds of crazy stuff happening with me. So In those days, he didn't have a rose or anything in his hand. He just took his hand and hit. He went and touched my head like this, This was like within a few weeks of me having done the silence course and happiness course. And then all that, everything just stopped after that. And it became more organized and more normalized. So starting from then, 96, I would have my doubts coming, but at the same time, he gave us a lot of time too. Every year he would come here to the US and to the Bay Area especially. And I'm right now in Lake Tahoe. I can see if you can see the lake from here. Can you see the lake?
If you can
Outside?
see, means show it, means it's wonderful.
That's the lake right behind me. That's the lake.
Wow.
And it's absolutely gorgeous. And he would come here if you see some of the videos, it'll say Lake Tahoe. Some of the Guru Purnima videos and all that from the 90s and the early 2000s. This is where he would come. Further up north from here, we would have this place called Squaw Valley, where it's a really beautiful ski lodge. And we would have our Guru Purnima celebrations there in this place. And every year he would come, and every year for the first few years, I even got an opportunity to make food for him, serve him. He would come to our home. When we bought our house, we told him, Gurudev, you should come now. Your ashram in California is ready. So he immediately came home to bless the ashram. And that house has been like that, like an ashram, because he has come and he's blessed, and people just feel so comfortable when they come to that place. So it's like that, you just realize that all your ideas and the so-called mind and the so-called intellect, it is very limiting. And the Guru's presence and his grace shows you that don't get stuck and limited with these concepts and ideas that we carry within ourselves, saying, oh, I only know, I went to this class, I studied this, so I only know this. That kind of a limiting thing we put into our heads, these concepts that we have, saying, I'm like this, so I should behave like this, I should do like that, I can only do this. I remember there's so many stories, like here in Lake Tahoe, there is this guy called Chris Reed. He's very famous for his ginger brew. He has his own company, and he used to make us fresh ginger brew for Guru Purnima every year. So that year, this was 97, he had this big jar filled with ginger, which he wanted somebody to scrape and then grate so that he could make us ginger brew. So, because in those days I had a little kid. At that time, my son was 2 years old, my older one. And I couldn't really do any course because I had to take care of my son. So I would do the seva in the kitchen. And so that day, every day, because I had just to do seva and then take care of my son, I would just go sneak into Gurudev's kutir and go do pranam to him. No talking or anything needed, because I didn't have any questions. And I would, in those days, just go blank. When I used to go into his room, anywhere close to him, my brain would just go blank. I had no questions. Even if I had a question outside, as I went close to him, I'll forget what I wanted to even ask him. So this used to happen. And so I would just go do pranam. One day I was late. I had to take care of my son. I had to feed him lunch and all. It was little, he kept me busy. So I couldn't go do my pranam to Gurudev in his kutir, but I was doing this seva in the kitchen, which was grating these ginger pieces. And it was just me in the area in that place grating. And suddenly I hear this sweet voice asking me in Tamil, "Enna pannindruka?" I was like, "What are you doing here?" I look up, Gurudev was there, just him. And I was like surprised and shocked and happy to see him. I said, "Gurudev, every day I come to see you. You came to see me today." And then he started to laugh and he said, wherever seva is happening, I am there. So that was it for me. I realized, I knew it before, but I realized it was literally what I really felt, that whenever you engage yourself in seva, you feel so close to him. And I realized that day, it's so true. This is so true. And because I'm not kidding, I always felt like that whenever I engage myself in seva, that you recognize when you do seva, all of you must, those of you who have done seva, right? You do things that you never thought you would do, number one. And number two, you do much more than what you're capable of doing. And then you realize, hey, who did that? It was not me. Huh? Someone wanted to share your experience? You agree with me? Yeah. So that's how it is. So yeah, I see some thumbs up signs there. So he really made me, and that is something I always tell all my volunteers, he said, never forget this story because this is the truth. And so I really experienced that the first time. And a few years later, it was 2003, it was his birthday celebration. And he was going to be in Palo Alto for a whole week. And I suddenly get a call from the national chapter. They called me and said, Meenakshi, we want you to make food for everybody for his birthday feast. I'm like, okay, for how many people? And they said, 1,000 people. I'm like, I just said yes, because at that moment, all you think of is yes. Then I put the phone down. I said, wait a minute, how do you even cook for 1,000 people? I have no idea how to even plan or prepare for 1,000 people food. I have no clue how to make food for 1,000 people. I know how to make food for 20 people, maybe 50 people, maybe with maximum extension of my mind and capacity and skills, 100 people. But 1,000 people, I have no clue how much even to buy. Then as I put the phone down, I'm thinking, maybe I should ask a friend who is a Sikh, because they do all this langar cooking. Maybe they will tell me how to plan for 1,000 people, because I have no clue how to even plan for 1,000 people of food. So I have to ask somebody who's good at this. I was just thinking this, okay, this thought has just come to my head at that moment. And then the bell rings. So the way my house is set up, I have the phone right next to my kitchen area, and then right behind me is the entrance door, sort of. So I open the door, and there is my friend Manjeet, and she is Sikh, and she says her husband had to go for his golfing session. He said, "Okay, you will get bored. You come. I'll drop you off in Meenakshi's place," and he has gone golfing. And then in the next 20 minutes, she and I sit down, and she tells me some basic formula how to make food for 1,000 people. And then you multiply, we do this math, and then uh, we end up planning a meal in the next 20 minutes for 1,000 people. And then I start calling people. I call this another teacher in art of living here in the Bay Area. Her name is Neeru Ben. And I called her and I said, Neeru Ben, can you make 2,000 puris with a group of your Gujarati friends? And she said, sure, no problem. So in like 20 minutes, we had a commitment for some group of 20 Gujarati ladies who said they will make 2,000 puris. And then it was just like that. And then I asked someone else, she said, I have this recipe for like a aloo cutlet with vegetable cutlet, but it can be made in the oven. So because we had access to a commercial kitchen where you can cook, and then in the US we have amazing ovens, so we wanted to use the ovens also and not just use the stove top, because it takes a lot of time to prep and make a meal, boil it, cook it, so we wanted to distribute it in different places so that we're not stuck on top of a stove mixing and making some food. And it was so magical, the whole thing, the way the whole meal just manifested itself. And then Gurudev served all of us food on his birthday. It was just crazy, that experience of supposedly cooking for 1,000 people. Even now when I think about it, I'm like, it's not possible. I mean, humanly, we have no clue how to make food for 1,000 people. But that's the kind of experiences he gives you through Seva, where he says, you think you're doing anything? No way. It just is a manifestation. So yeah, he has put us through a lot of stories like that here. We are very, very fortunate. You're saying about the West Coast, to be honest with you, California's ancient name is Kapilaranya. Even today, Kapila Muni is supposed to be meditating in the mountains here. So It's very, very, very sacred land, just as the whole planet Earth is. And we are very, very blessed. Gurudev once, when we drove him to Santa Cruz and showed him the coastal redwoods, we asked him about these redwoods. Some of them are very, very old. They're 1,000, 2,000-year-old trees, some of these trees. And then we asked him about the trees, and he just closed his eyes. And then he said, you know, some of the who have given up their bodies when they meditate, they choose to take the form of a tree and meditate for thousands of years. So we are very blessed that we live where we have the redwood trees, some of them which are very, very old, and we know that they are meditators who are meditating. So you do feel that experience. So every part, the Indian subcontinent is very, very sacred. It is one of the most ancient, like if you do the research, the geological study of especially the southern part of Indian subcontinent. That's why we worship the Arunachala hill, for example, the Tiruvannamalai hill. What is so amazing about that rock is it's one of the earlier gneiss rock, which comes from the mantle layer of the earth. So normally what we see around us is the crust layer of the earth. But to see protrusions of the mantle layer, you see some of them here in this Indian subcontinent. So that is very, very, just shows you how ancient that land is, which is vibrating in such ancient time. So every part of this world is very, very unique for different parts and doing different things. And I feel so blessed. I was in depression when I came to this country. I didn't want to leave India and come here, but I ended up here and I was miserable here. But the Guru showed me that, every part of this world is sacred and every part of this planet is just vibrating with this knowledge. If we connect within, we start connecting with that also all around us. And you create that satsang and that sangha. And today, as I said, 96, we barely had 6 people doing Kriya. Today, we have more than 200 teachers just in the Bay Area. We have so many Art of Living teachers just in our area. We have satsangs, and it's just crazy how it has grown in the past so many years. And the number of people, we are just planning a Skanda Shashti Puja this upcoming Sunday. And it's going to be conducted by one of our priests who he's a priest in one of our local temples, but he was just sharing with me the other day. He's a graduate from our Sri Sri Gurukulam in the ashram. And he was saying, he said, I'm so fortunate that I'm here in the Bay Area where there is so many people who live in this path, who do their meditations, do their pujas, who learn the Rudram, who do all these things, It is just so precious that we have found that spiritual experience, and recognizing it is irrelevant which part of the world you are in. And that's the evidence of how Gurudev has found people from around the world in more than 155 countries. And if each of their stories, if you hear, like I know this teacher, her name is Oksana, she lives in the Bay Area now, but she's from Ukraine. And she did the Art of Living course when she was a student in Canada. And when you hear stories like hers, and when I did my TTC and I met people from Argentina and Belarus and all these parts of the world, I didn't even know some of these places existed on the planet. I've seen it in the map, but beyond that, it doesn't go through your brain. But when you meet these people from around the world, the only common thing that we all have, we don't even speak each other's languages, but the only common thing we all have is our spiritual experience. It's the master, it's the Guru, it's the grace. And we realize that our world is so limiting if we see it from our perspective of culture, tradition, this, that. But when you open it, when he talks about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, when he talks about one world family, it is that, it's this experience he gives you, saying, if you get stuck in your identity as I'm so and so, I'm Indian, I'm a woman, I'm man, and all these things, That is how limiting you make yourself to be. But when you drop all these conditionings and you connect with your spiritual truth, the spirit that you are, the self that you are, you realize that you are not limited by these factors. Yeah, we are all by default born somewhere on this planet, this XY coordinate that we call latitude and longitude that makes us different parts of the world. But the experience, the human experience, is so much bigger than that latitude, longitude intersection point, it's much more than that. And that has been my experience, being forced to come to the other part of the world, where when it's night for you, it's day for me, and day for me, it's crazy. But yeah, he certainly taught me a lot. Okay, I was so stuck in my identity. I was so stuck in so many things, and one by one, he peeled off the layers and saying, "You think this is your truth? You think this is your truth? You got to be kidding me! You are so much deeper than this." So that is the journey that we are very fortunate having when you have a master, and having him in the living space, in the living plane, when you are also in the living plane with your body, mind, intellect, memory, ego, all these seven levels. It is so fortunate, very, very blessed. We are all very blessed to choose this time to be born in a body and be on this path. I tell you how precious this is. We might not realize it, but someday we will be just pinching ourselves saying, wow, amn't I lucky? Amn't I lucky? So yeah, you can all pinch yourself saying, amn't I lucky for being here, being on this path together with the master when he's also walking in a body on this planet. I mean, for him, he doesn't need a body, but for us, it is helpful, right? So it's like that. Yeah.
Didi, you told one very wonderful point that whichever part we are in the world we are living in, but we all are connected some or how. Like we are talking, it's because of technology you are there, and we are just connected and we are talking about the master. But you have also touched a very interesting point that we think in a very linear way, and this time goes in a very spherical manner. So is this is a constant thing going on in somewhere, and we all are connected to to the master since a means since our previous births also? Is it like that, or is it like that in this birth we have got? Sometimes I feel very confused about this, that this thing is happening since a long time, or this is the first time I'm experiencing this.
So
Yes.
you yourself answered it. If you remove the question from your answer, so-called question, and you changed it, is it long time or now? Both are true, because what is this idea of time that we are discussing? Time itself is a concept, isn't it? It's one of the strongest concepts that our mind holds on to. I used to be a substitute teacher for kindergarten classes, and then I ran away from kindergarten. I'm very happy with my high schoolers. Because in kindergarten, we shove it into their 5-year-old brains, this idea of time. Children at the age of 3, 4, 5 have no sense of time. You ask them, when is tomorrow or Tuesday or Wednesday? They have no idea. You ask a little 3-year-old, when is your birthday? They'll say tomorrow. Or they'll say, if the mother or father has taught them your birthday is in this such and such a month, they will tell everybody. And when you ask them, okay, when is it? They'll say tomorrow. So they have no sense of time. But we create this idea in our heads about time, and we shove it into their brains. We force it into their heads. And then once we go to school, so it starts in school, and then we shove it down. And then we say, this is the Friday, we have a test. And then every 3 weeks, we have another quiz. And then after 3 weeks, we have quarterly exams, half yearly exams, annual exams. So you shove that brain into a box called time. Otherwise, as a baby, as a child, you have no concept of time. And then when the guru enters your life again, the grace, when it enters your life, when you have your first meditation experience, where again you dissolve, the mind dissolves, and with that the concept of time dissolves. How many of us have experienced that after you finished your kriya, till Gurudev says, turn to your right side, you have no clue where you were. Yeah. So sometimes if you wake up a little before, you turn, experience right side, right leg, left leg. Oh, I have a right leg. I have a left leg. That's when you realize you have a leg. So you realize, so where was that mind of yours, which was otherwise wrapped up in time? You see? So this whole concept of mind and time, they go hand in hand. And what Gurudev is here to teach us is, you experience dropping the mind. And when you drop the mind, you also experience a dropping of time and space. Otherwise, this time-space continuum makes us get back to this 3D world that we all experience otherwise. And dropping it right now, just see how we have created another world, this Zoom world, which has shrunk a 3D world into a 2D experience right now. And for those who don't have their cameras on, it is a 1D experience. You see what I'm saying? So 3D to 1D or 3D to 2D, it doesn't matter, but we have already changed our world right here. This manifest world, which otherwise was the 3D world, has already shrunk. So in the other world, in the spiritual world, this 3D world drops, dissolves. There is no time, there is no space. So that experience that we have gotten through either a meditation or through kriya or whatever, which has happened because of the grace that has flowed, it is beyond time. So is it this birth, last birth, previous birth? Who cares? Right now, this moment, you experienced it. That's it. That's the only truth. Nothing else is true, because we can go on and on talking about, oh, us zamane ki baat hai, oh, us zamane kya baat thi, kya tha us zamane mein. We can keep going on like that, but and then I can say, oh, I'm a very senior teacher, I've been with Guruji from 25 to 20, 30 years, 200 years. Who cares? Whether you are yesterday or today, it is irrelevant. As far as the Guru is concerned, this moment is the only truth. Everything else is a lie. It's not true. It's unreal, however you want to call it. You don't have to say a lie, but this is what it is. He has given us that experience, and then we still go back to all this, I mean, it's nice to sit and chat like this, but beyond that, it has no value, really.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dev. I'm Sudha from Pune. It is what you're saying, sometimes that ego, that past glory comes. You're saying, no, I'm a senior teacher, I'm this teacher, that teacher. That comes of its own. You are saying it doesn't matter actually, but it comes of its own. You can't stop it, like chirpy nature that will come, and the ego somehow or other it pops in, and then when you happen to see Guruji, everything vanishes. Your question vanishes, nothing is there, you are going blank. This happens to everyone. So really amazing to hear you. You are telling in such a way like like that you're a science student, so you know how to explain it in a logical way.
You can't explain all this actually. That experience cannot be explained. All I can say is, I can only laugh at myself, where I was and where I am, where he has brought me today. That's all I can do. Beyond that, you are only in wonder, because there is nothing to explain. There is nothing to speak, really. It's just what we experience. That's it. I mean, and that's it. And that every experience also changes. Like, you can't say, okay, in 1996, I had this experience. So what? 1996 experience is finished with 1996. 2020 experience is finished with 2020 experience. And 2020 November 12th experience is finished, and it's already November 13th. It's like that, every day it moves. Already your experience of time is different from my experience of time. It's just started morning for me. It's 8:30, it's 8:23 for me. For you, it's already in the night. So what are we talking about time? This is such a illusion, I tell you, this whole idea of time. We get so stuck in it and we feel it's so real. It's amazing. That is what amazes me, actually. I mean, wow.
Yeah, but the thing is now your way of adjusting, I think you have done it. Like, to go and abroad and settle with that. See, your mindset, I think you adaptability is more, I believe. Maybe that is Guru's grace or something, because from India has got different culture, and there is different culture. Still, you made it to the point, and then maybe it took some sort of time, or you have adjusted immediately. How it went for you?
Oh, it's a okay. So one more thing he says is deepen your roots and widen your vision, broaden your vision. This is something he tells every youth everywhere in the world. So I mean, I still wear my bindi, I still wear my Indian clothes, I still
Yeah.
celebrate my Indian festivals. That is me, that is my roots. I don't deny it at any level. But when I go to my school, I still wear my bindi, because as I tell my students, sometimes they ask me, Mrs. S, what's that stuff on your head? Forehead. But the thing is, I tell them, I can change maybe my clothes, but I cannot change my skin. I cannot change all these things. I cannot. So if I'm not going to change my skin, there's no point removing the bindi and removing these Indian clothes, because first of all, I find the Western palette and the colors, they just don't suit my skin color. So I like my Indian bright colors. So I'm not going to give that up. So it's as simple as that. So it has nothing to do with adjusting or not adjusting, adapting or not adapting. It's just that this is who I am in the body, at the body level. But the mind is a very different world. And as long as we recognize that we live in a very integrated world, we don't care who created Zoom, but we're all using it, right? It's like that. That's what Gurudev always says. Don't we take technology from different parts of the world? Likewise, the ancient rishis and yogis have given us this precious gift of meditation and yoga to the whole world. It is not limited only to India, and the whole world is doing yoga today. It's not just the asanas, but all this Ashtanga of yoga, which Patanjali has given so beautifully, and which the Art of Living Foundation has been teaching in the world. Because I mean, the exposure to America, in America, mostly as far as the word yoga is concerned, it is only the asana part. But Patanjali has barely used two or three sutras he has given for asanas. Everything else has been for all the other aspects of yoga. You have your yama, niyama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana. So many things are there. It's not just asana. Asana is just one of the 8 ashtanga limbs. So we have to re-establish this yogic vision for the world, because this is true for humanity. Today, with this whole COVID situation also, we are seeing how many more people are feeling depressed, miserable. There's so much mental agitation. People are feeling fatigued. But look at all of us happily smiling and laughing and doing a kriya and doing seva. Nothing has stopped us. Why? Because the mind has expanded to a point beyond this little temporary blip on the screen. As far as we are concerned, it's just a blip. We are not really getting stuck in this. So this 8 months have gone by like a blip. It doesn't seem heavy on us, because we have had a deeper experience, which is beyond time. But for those of us for whom time is still very, very real, who have not had a meditation experience, it is going to weigh very heavily on us in the mind. And that is the only difference. That is the only reason why we are shameless when we tell people, take the course. Shamelessly we tell people, do the kriya, take the course, do the kriya, take the. After a point, all our family, friends, they all run away saying, oh, these adolescent people, they will say, take the course. So because I mean, this is the reason. I mean, we experience how magical it is to live in a world where time drops. But so many people hold on to this idea of time and they feel miserable. They'd rather be miserable, feeling weighed down with time, than feel expanded and free, where the mind just drops. And with that, the idea of time and space drops. So I don't know. I mean, it's just, I think the world is ready. More of them, I think, are ready. They're asking deeper questions with this whole COVID lockdown situation. But we also have to be shameless. We continue being shameless, telling people, take the program, get an experience, because you deserve it. Being a human being, having the faculty of breathing in and out with awareness, you have that experience. You can get access that, which is you. And if you get this opportunity and if it comes knocking on your door, just grab it. That's all I would say.
So the response is okay. How do you find, means like you could, basically you also, once you are a scientist, you said once I got convinced, then only I came into this path, you are saying.
No,
Similarly,
I didn't get convinced at all. On the contrary, I was so miserable. I was in depression when I took the course.
oh,
My mother-in-law and my mother were bombarding me in those days. The international calls were so darn expensive. $3 a minute is what we used to pay in those days. And
okay.
you would pick up the phone and talk to them for 5 minutes, and they would only talk about take the course. What a waste of money. So just to shut them up, we took the course. It was not because I was convinced or anything. Okay.
Okay.
But then only when the experience happened, and for me, the Kriya was not a great experience. It was a silence course with the hollow and empty meditation that did it for me. And the experience
Okay.
of very deep meditation. And of course, I think he did it for me. I didn't even
Okay.
want to close my eyes for those meditations. I would just look at him saying, what, are you going to do some mumbo jumbo? Are you going to squirt something in the air? I was that kind of a skeptic. I thought he was going to put some kind of spray everybody in the room with something in his hand. That is the kind of person I was, okay, 96. And then I kept staring at him. I did I think my first meditation, hollow and empty meditation, Gurudev is telling in the mic, well, if you close your eyes, you know how soft voices. And I'm just staring at him. And then he's looking at all the other 50 people in the room except me. And here I'm looking at him and he's looking at me. And then everybody else very sincerely closing their eyes and me looking at him and staring at him. So I think I did more eye gazing with him than anything else in my first so-called hollow and empty meditation. And then after that, he did something to me. I have no clue for the rest of the week. Every meditation, before he would say chant Om, I was gone. I had no idea what he did on me. I have no clue. And I know he didn't spray anything. but but that's how I was. And that's when I realized how limited my whole world and life was, because I refused to see what I couldn't see, you know? So, and that's why I laugh at myself. And so when I see someone in art, when I teach my courses and when I have a student just like me, I'm just amused inside of me, like, oh, okay, 1996 Meenakshi is sitting in front of me, reminding me of me. So it's all good, it's I just know that it's his grace that has made this whole thing possible, that you and I are even sitting in this conversation and we're all here together today. So it's just like that.
Amazing. Yes. Dr.
Great, great.
Pramila wants to say something. Yes.
Jai Gurudev. Meenakshi, it was really, really nice to hear you. It reminds me of the day when I was supposed to join my internship in New York, and it was in the mid of December. You can imagine the kind of cold it would be there. And I was like, oh my God, where am I going? And then I just closed my eyes and I just talked to Gurudev, and he says, you have been waiting for this internship for all your life. And so it's coming to you now. Don't take it as a time and a space, as you says, you have been given this opportunity, just go for this. So, and I was like, okay, I'm going. And because I was thinking, okay, am I going to miss my Kriya? Would there be a center there or something? I would be doing it there. Would I get the Sangha or what? I mean, you always crave for the AOL family or kind of thing like that. And then, wow, when I reached there, wonder of all, I met Rajima. So it was like, oh my God, she's from my home. So, I was just feeling, I'm not in a new place. I'm back into the same, Gurudev takes so much care of us. He makes sure you are taken care of. Only thing is there, you have to drop all the concepts. And
Yeah.
then you were just saying that. You just brought back those memories and everything, and I then went and I was fortunate that I could go with Rajima to Bay Area and San Cruz, all that area, San Jose and everything, all the places, and seriously now, you're bringing all those memories to me, and I was so amazed. And
Yeah.
I wish I could be back there. I'm back in India now after this thing and practicing.
Oh, where? Which
So,
city?
I'm in Delhi now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm into the 3D, not from the 3D, I'm into the 1D because I can't switch on the camera because everybody is sleeping. Yeah.
No
I
worries.
wish I could. I just wish I was there. I mean, like, really wish to meet everybody in the Bay Area now. Yeah, so many people there I made friends with. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So,
Wonderful.
yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you for your sharing. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Yes.
inspiring and really bringing all those memories. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yes. Anyone else want to say something or share or ask
Yes,
something? They can unmute
yes,
them. Yeah.
yeah. Actually, so living in the moment is ultimate. So no past, no future. That was a takeaway for me
Beautiful. Yeah.
because we see so many new people coming up. Yeah, we may feel like I have seen so much of. I was so much near to Guruji. Gurudev was talking to me. So all these feelings, once in a while, we keep getting. But yeah, living in the moment is ultimate. Actually, thank you so much for your wonderful explanation. That was scientific at the same time, giving a lot of clarity to us.
You're welcome. I'm glad. Yeah.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
What's your name?
Surya.
Surya. Thank you, Surya.
And you are
Very
joining from
precious.
Surya, which place?
I am joining from Bangalore.
Ah.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
Look at him. He stays closest to Gurudev and he's saying that. Geographically speaking. Like the other day, my son, he just turned 20 last week, and he said, Mom, what I really, really, really want is just get into a flight, go straight to Bangalore and go and become a shadow for Gurudev for 1 week. You know? Because these kids, both my sons, they are totally crazy about Gurudev. I mean, my older son was 2 years old when I did the course, but when my husband and I took the program, he was 1.5 years old actually, when we took the program first time. And right through his life, he has seen Gurudev, right through, like every year for Guru Purnima or something. And because my in-laws live in Bangalore, we go to Bangalore, and whenever we go to Bangalore and if Gurudev is there, we go to the ashram. So it's like a continuous thing, you know. And both of them are so connected, and I don't have to worry about them at all. I don't have to worry about whether they're going to do drugs or any of that stuff, because I just know they're not interested in any of that stuff. My older son, he gifted this kid when he just finished his high school. That year we had Guru Purnima in the Bay Area, 2018. That's the year he passed out of high school. And my older son, he had gotten a stipend that summer. So he had made some money, and he gifted him for his high school graduation the silence course with Gurudev in 2018. So that is the kind of priority that they have been exposed to. And once you see that that has been given to them on their own, it's not like I forced it on them, it's just so natural, then I don't have to worry about anything for them. I don't have to worry about, oh, which college they're going to go to, which do they, all that usual cha-cha-cha-cha-cha, which is going on in the head about kids and family. And if I don't do this, who else will do? You know, this attitude saying, without me, nothing will happen in this house. All this rubbish, I tell you, he takes care of everything. I mean, I have noticed, I never used to question. I never used to believe in all this stuff. I thought, oh, I have to worry about things. I have to do those things. Otherwise, I would. Once I swapped it, saying, okay, it just is happening through this body or through some other's body, this thing gets done. It is finished. It's taken care of. So that attitude with which you live your life is very different than if I said, I am doing this. Oh, you don't understand how difficult it is. I have to cook and I have to clean. I have to do this. I used to do all the drama for 6 years, even after doing my course. I used to say, without me, who's going to clean the dishes? Who's going to do the laundry? Who's going to do all these things? I have better things to do than sit and meditate. All this, I've also gone through those experiences, you know, where we prioritize laundry and dishwashing and everything else over meditation. Then you realize that when you do the meditation, then everything else also gets done. It's not like if you do meditation, something else is getting dropped. On the contrary, I found that you become more efficient in doing other things than if you just did other things but not your meditation. So it took me a while to figure that out. And I cheated myself for some time, saying meditation is not priority, everything else is priority. But then I realized that that is a foolish, dumb way to live. So
Wonderful,
yeah.
Didi. Yes, Didi. Didi, this session was a really eye-opener for many people, and we all got connected through your stories and your experiences. And thank you so much, Didi. You came, took out time, and shared your experiences. Didi, any last message before going you want to give to all the people who are watching it on YouTube and Zoom?
And before the message, one Guru story, please.
I thought I shared some Guru stories. Guru stories,
Yes.
lots of them. But
I mean, one more.
okay, I'll tell you, this is a funny story. So this was in, I think it was this 2003 or 2004. I don't remember which year it was. I think it was 2003. So I had made breakfast for Gurudev and I was serving him. And my husband had also made one portion of the breakfast. So both he and I, we went into his room to serve him breakfast. And then when I was serving Gurudev, my husband told Gurudev, please tell Meenakshi to cook like this. You know how she was so excited when she makes food for you. Tell her to make food like this for me in the house. Like that, so semi-complaint. So Gurudev, poor thing, he was eating. He just stopped and he looked at me. So Gurudev is sitting like this. To his right side, my husband is sitting, facing him. And to his left side, I'm seated, facing him. So we are on two sides of him, okay? So he was about to eat. He stopped. He looked at me and said, huh? Like, what am I hearing kind of a thing, okay? Then I immediately, how it is, your ego is like super crushed in front of your guru. Your husband is complaining. It's like, ugh. So I have to get back, right? So immediately said, Gurudev, yesterday I made you rasam without salt and you drank not one but 2 cups of it. 2 servings you had of rasam without salt in it. Tell him to also eat like that. So if I made no soft food, ask him also. I will also make food like that. And then Gurudev, he's still frozen, right? Now he turned this way and said, huh? And that moment, he didn't speak a word. He just said, huh? 2 times to both of us. Something inside of me opened, said, I also need to be more aware when I'm cooking. That openness of awareness that opened up. And for my husband also, it was the same openness of awareness, saying, whatever comes to my plate, salt, no salt, whatever. This is the prasadam I got from the divine today. That aspect of, see, we can make even a small trivial thing like that can even lead to a divorce. If the heart, if that can become a source of disharmony in the family, it can lead to a breakup of a marriage also. Something silly like this, or something like you didn't bring me tea, or some stupid thing like that can lead to a lot of disharmony, because it's impacted with the ego. It's connected to the ego. Most of the families, most of the marriages that dissolve is because of ego, nothing else. And so that little subtle shift, that is the power of the guru. He didn't have to say a word, he didn't have to speak, but something inside of you shifts, and the so-called complaint, which is otherwise coming from the space of ego, it just dissolves in his presence, and that awareness opens. There's an opening that it dawns. That doesn't mean we don't fight. That doesn't mean, but then as and when the so-called fighting or the bickering starts, immediately it dissolves. It's not held on to. Earlier, I would say, in 1990 to 1995, you said this, I said that, you did this. Who are you to tell me? And you will bring that story back to 2020. It used to be like that. But then, through the processes, through the years, 1996 is gone. That 1996 model of Meenakshi is gone. 1996 model of Meenakshi's husband is gone. What are you bringing that model into 2020 and still talking and fighting over? Everything seems so frivolous and ridiculous. So, and that is what this whole path makes us realize. It's all silly. What are you holding on to? 1996, 2000, 1920 model you're still holding on to in 2020? It's ridiculous. So dropping. That is what it means, being in the present moment, That model is over. Already Zoom, in the past few months, they have got so many upgrades and updates in their software. If Zoom can do so many upgrades, don't you think you and I can update ourselves? So, I don't know. I mean, I think that's not as easy that we're doing like that.
Yes.
So let go to grow. Let go to grow.
That's it. That's all it is. There's nothing more. You just drop it. It's already 2020 models also going to get finished in another month's time. Already they are talking in science that this coronavirus has gotten into its 14th mutation.
Okay.
So, I mean, everything is changing, constantly changing. And what are you holding on to? So it's so ridiculous. It's amazing, actually. Like Gurudev says, it's amazing how we hold on to these things.
Yes. Yes, thank you
So you're smiling with a smile.
Let go activity is not coming. Let go thing is not coming. We are holding on tightly. That is the problem. You have to let go. Each time Guruji says, let go. That is not going inside.
Gurudev says, you breathe in and don't breathe out for some time, then automatically you will know the meaning of let go.
Exactly. I mean, in Art Excel, we teach them, the kids get it very fast. They said, laugh and let go. And it's instantaneous for them. They get it. We adults have to go to Art Excel course, I tell you. It's the best course on the planet.
Wonderful.
So that's all it is. It's all it is. It's as simple as breathe in and breathe out, let go, finish, done. What are we holding on to?
Meenakshi ji, you use Sudanta in America also?
Yeah.
Okay, your smile is Sudanta smile. That's the reason I'm asking.
That's what I have actually. I have it. I get it. And we have it here too.
Nice.
Yeah, we have Shri Tattva here too in the US.
Oh, very nice.
So
Wonderful.
How is it doing, Sri Tattva? How is Sri Tattva in US?
It needs a little more exposure, but it's slow. We started, so it should pick up slowly.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is doing good in India now.
Yeah, high time we do it.
Yes.
And it's dharma, artha, kama, moksha, right? We in Sanatana Dharma, we don't frown down upon profit in the world. Like we are going to celebrate Dhanteras tomorrow, and we celebrate Lakshmi. We don't deny her, and in all her aspects, not just as money, but also as all the samvriddhis, right? As children, as health, as virya, courage, everything, valor, everything is Lakshmi. We have to live our lives like that, not be fearful of COVID and sit scared in the house, but with full courage and enthusiasm, you live your life. And with prosperity of all levels. So when we welcome her into our homes, if you look at it, the amount of an economy that's generated, the income that is generated at all levels in society. When you see, like when we came to this place, they were so glad. My husband went for a haircut, and that person in the hair salon said, thank you so much for coming and spending this $20-$30 here, because this economy is completely hit by this COVID. And so you spending this $20-$30 in this small little place makes a huge difference, So those of us who have the capacity, who have the ability, who have not lost a job, we should be donating and spending, because that is what keeps it going. And all the economic indicators in India is This Navratri, Diwali time is almost 80% of retail sales in India for the whole year. So if we don't go and buy and we don't go and support that economy, so many people's livelihoods are on stake or on the line. So we really need to support at every level. It's okay, it's one hand. Some people just want to be lazy, do no work, and just keep asking the government for free things, free this, free that. And then they say, oh, I'll only then vote for you if you give me free things. If you don't give me free things, I will not vote for you. That is not the way to build an economy, build an energy. You know, Lakshmi comes only when you work hard. You can't just sit and be lazy, sitting on your butt and then expecting Lakshmi to enter your house. You need to work, you have to put in the effort, but then she will come. And this is true around the world, you know, and this is what we need to encourage when we're talking about entrepreneurship, when we're talking about creating an economy where you are the creator of your own economy, not waiting for the next government job. That is what it means. And that is what we need to build. And especially with India having such a huge youth population. And that's what I tell my high school kids, because they have to go find a job. And I tell them, you know, okay, we give you a bunch of skills, but if it's not viable and if you're not adaptable enough in your life, if you're going to get stuck and saying, oh, okay, I study for this, I'm not getting any job here, so I'm doomed. That is not how you live your life. You got to go be adept in getting new skills. And look at this tiny little virus, which is tiny little piece of RNA in it, is making the whole world shut down. And it's already adapted and it's made itself into 14 different, mutated itself into 14 different variants already. And we human beings can't be more adaptable? Come on. And saying, oh, this government didn't do anything for me, I didn't get a government job. Come on. Get growing, get creative, get adaptable. Don't just give up and saying, oh, I can't do this. No, there's nothing called I can't do this. You can do it. And that's why I teach high school. I teach my high schoolers, like, you cannot give up at this age. Look at my gray hair. I've not given up at my age. Why should you give up at your age? You know, it's all about having that enthusiasm, jumping out of doing something new, something different. I do something new and different every day. I have no clue what I'm doing. Like right now, I'm doing this Zoom thing, this YouTube thing. I had no clue what I was doing. I never even met Abhishek till like yesterday. So it's like that, you know, you just do it. You just don't stop. And that is the energy. That is the, you know, and it doesn't stop with Diwali is just the beginning. And then you have Annakut and Baiduj, all that is continuing. You have the Chhat Puja. In the south, we have the 6 days of Skanda Shashti. For 6 days, from Diwali onwards, for 6 days, people in the south, they meditate, they fast, they do a lot of different pujas. So why? Because you increase the prana level, you increase the sattva in you, into the system. That is why all these celebrations have been concocted, because we know that Diwali is the onset of winter. And medically speaking, winter across the globe, especially here in the northern, further up in the northern hemisphere, it leads to more darkness, darker nights, longer nights. And so if you don't have a sense of celebration instilled in you, then you can get into all these mental depression issues, you know. So if you keep that energy up, you get through the winter with the high energy, with lighting that lamp and, you know, making your life more colorful with rangolis and all that, then the mind is kept occupied in a creative manner rather than a depression manner. You know? It's all, I tell you, for all these things, it is all tied up into human psychology. Our rishis were so intelligent. They used to gave us some story. They said something. They said, this is good for you. Lakshmi is coming home. So immediately clean up. You do this, you do that. You light a lamp. You decorate your home. You do. Then what happens? You feel uplifted. You feel more, wow. And then you invite friends over. You have a mithai. You make something creative. And Diwali mithais are special, right? Because you have no clue what you made. You give it a new name. Because however you put things together, something comes out of the pot. And you call it something new, you give a new name, and you say, this is our speciality for this year. However it came. So Diwali mithai means something you make, but you make it new. It is creative. So that creativity, you know, brings that energy up. So this is all connected, and we need to celebrate. I tell you, it's so important. So what if the government has banned fireworks? It's okay. We will light lamps. We will make mithai. We will do something different. We will make rangoli. So what? Nothing stops us from doing these things. The celebration element should not be dropped. Okay.
Absolutely,
Keep
Didi.
celebrating.
Yes, Didi, it's wonderful that you are here and the Diwali is coming and we had this session. Thank you so much, Didi, for your words and inspiring us. And thank you so much all for being a part. Yes.
You're welcome. And all of you, don't forget, if you can, go donate to the Gift of Smile program. They have 72,000 children studying in our schools. And we really, really need the funds this year because our schools are closed, because in many of these places, the kids don't have access to the classrooms. They don't have access. The teachers' salaries still need to be paid. They cannot get to class, means because we are now working on getting them a tablet so that they can get online. And then we have to pay for also not just the tablet, but also go and figure out a SIM with a hotspot in it so that they can get data plans. It's a big effort because it's a complete, this whole thing has shifted the way we are delivering education also. Everything. It's a big challenge in the rural and tribal areas of India. So it's not a joke, because some of these people still have their father or mother, somebody in the house, they have that old cell phone, what you call that old bar phone. Many of them cannot even afford a smartphone. So those are the kind of communities we serve. So during this Diwali, don't forget those kids. Said whatever, 100 rupees, 1,000 rupees, whatever you can afford based on your capacity. This is how I tell, even in the US, and most of us aren't driving anywhere. We are saving all the gas money that otherwise we were spending, all the transportation money that we have saved. I said, give it to some good organization which is doing good work. So what better organization than the Gift a Smile program, don't you think? Such a beautiful program. So just donate whatever you can give, 100, 1,000, whatever, we don't know. And because we have gone out and spent money, we might as well give it here and, donate. Just, we are so blessed that we have a job, that we get a paycheck. So there are people out there who are struggling. So if we can do a little bit towards that end, why not? This Deepavali, just do it. So it's as simple as that, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, Didi, absolutely.
Yeah. Good. Chalo. It's getting late for you guys. It's 11. It's what?
Yes.
It's 10:30 for you guys. Go to sleep now.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Didi, for coming.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank
And
you guys.
wishing you a very happy Diwali to the family too.
Thank you.
Yes.
And happy Deepavali to all of you. Happy Dhanteras, Deepavali, all the way through. For us, it is South Indians, it's Narakahara Chaturdashi, Saturday early morning, where Ganga Maiya is supposed to come into our taps here also. In America also she comes. Did you know that Bhagirath brought to America also? Because the story goes that Kapila was sitting and meditating here in Kapilaranya, and all those 10,000 Sagaras children, they came here attacking him, thinking he was the one who stole the Ashwamedha horse. And then Bhagirath brought that Ganga here also. So we also have Ganga here.
Oh.
The
Wonderful.
Puranas put a stamp, Chapa here also. There's not a place that there is no Ganga Maiya. So she's here too.
So we can ask you well in advance. Ganga Sranam Acha.
Aga pordu. So it'll all happen. So it's all good.
Yes. Wonderful. So thank you so much, everyone, and the people who are watching it on YouTube also. जो लोग Zoom में भी है, the people who are watching it on Zoom, who have joined late, you don't need to worry. This whole session is recorded on YouTube channel Satwa Talks. You can go subscribe and watch this session again and again. This session is very inspirational. And those who are watching it on YouTube, in the comment section, you can share your experience, how you felt. And those who are here in Zoom, if you have joined for the first time, we do these sessions daily with Art of Living teachers. And if you want to just join the group, I'm just writing my number over here. My name is Abhishek, and you can just WhatsApp me to be a part. And my number is 9819746524. Yes. And thank you so much, everyone, for coming and joining. Yes. You can just take a screenshot and WhatsApp me. Yes. Thank you so much, Meenakshi Devi. It was
Thank you,
wonderful.
Jai Gurudev. Have a
Jai
wonderful,
Gurudev.
wonderful day and night. Shubharatri and happy Deepavali.